And it's great to have all of you here today. I'm going to start reading since it is 12:30. It's wonderful to have everyone join in early so we get a chance to catch up and share what's happening in our illusory worlds. All right, let's share my screen. We are in A Course in Miracles, Chapter 16, Section 4, The Illusion and the Reality of Love. Be not afraid to look upon the special hate relationship, for freedom lies in looking at it. It would be impossible not to know the meaning of love except for this. For the special love relationship, in which the meaning of love is hidden, is undertaken solely to offset the hate, but not to let it go. Your salvation will rise clearly before your open eyes as you look on this. You cannot limit hate. The special love relationship will not offset it, but merely drive it underground and out of sight. It is essential to bring it into sight and to make no attempt to hide it, for it is the attempt to balance hate with love that makes love meaningless to you. The extent of the split that lies in this, you do not realize. And until you do, the split will remain unrecognized and therefore unhealed. The symbols of hate against the symbols of love play out a conflict that does not exist. For symbols stand for something else, and the symbol of love is without meaning if love is everything. You will go through this last undoing quite unharmed and will at last emerge as yourself. This is the last step in the readiness for God. Be not unwilling now. You are too near, and you will cross the bridge in perfect safety. Translated quietly from war to peace. For the illusion of love will never satisfy, but its reality, which awaits you on the other side, will give you everything. The special love relationship is an attempt to limit the destructive effects of hate by finding a haven in the storm of guilt. It makes no attempt to rise above the storm into the sunlight. On the contrary, it emphasizes the guilt outside the haven by attempting to build barricades against it and keep within them. The special love relationship is not perceived as a value in itself, but as a place of safety from which hatred is split off and kept apart. The special love partner is acceptable only as long as he serves this purpose. Hatred can enter and indeed is welcome in some aspects of the relationship, but it is still held together by the illusion of love. If the illusion goes, the relationship is broken or becomes unsatisfying on the grounds of disillusionment. Love is not an illusion, it is a fact. Where disillusionment is possible, there was not love, but hate. For hate is an illusion, and what can change was never love. It is sure that those who select certain ones as partners in any aspect of living and use them for any purpose which they would not share with others are trying to live with guilt rather than die of it. This is the choice they see. And love, to them, is only an escape from death. They seek it desperately, but not in the peace in which it would gladly come quietly to them. And when they find the fear of death is still upon them, the love relationship loses the illusion that it is what it is not. When the barricades against it are broken, fear rushes in and hatred triumphs. There are no triumphs of love. Only hate is at all concerned with the triumph of love. The illusion of love can triumph over the illusion of hate, but always at the price of making both illusions. As long as the illusion of hatred lasts, so long will love be an illusion to you? And then the only choice remaining possible is which illusion you prefer. There is no conflict in the choice between truth and illusion. Seen in these terms, no one would hesitate. But conflict enters the instant the choice seems to be one between illusions. But this choice does not matter. Where one choice is as dangerous as the other, the decision must be one of despair. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. It is not necessary to seek for what is true, but it is necessary to seek for what is false. Every illusion is one of fear, whatever form it takes, and the attempt to escape from one illusion into another must fail. If you seek outside yourself, you can be certain that you perceive hatred within. If you seek love outside yourself, you can be certain that you perceive hatred within and are afraid of it. Yet peace will never come from the illusion of love, but only from its reality. Recognize this, for it is true, and truth must be recognized if it is to be distinguished from illusion. The special love relationship is an attempt to bring love into separation. And as such, it is nothing more than an attempt to bring love into fear and make it real in fear. In fundamental violation of love's one condition, the special love relationship would accomplish the impossible. How, but in illusion, could this be done? It is essential that we look very closely at exactly what it is you think you can do to solve the dilemma, which seems very real to you, but which does not exist. You have come close to truth, and only this stands between you and the bridge that leads you into it. Heaven waits silently, and your creations are holding out their hands to help you cross and welcome them. For it is they you seek. You seek but for your own completion, and it is they who render you complete. The special love relationship is but a shabby substitute for what makes you whole in truth, not in illusion. Your relationship with them is without guilt, and this enables you to look on all your brothers with gratitude, because your creations were created in union with them. Acceptance of your creations is the acceptance of the oneness of creation, without which you could never be complete. No specialness can offer you what God has given and what you are joined with Him in giving. Across the bridge is your completion, for you will be wholly in God, willing for nothing special, but only to be wholly like Him, completing Him by your completion. Fear not to cross to the abode of peace and perfect holiness. Only there is the completion of God and of His Son established forever. Seek not for this in the bleak world of illusion, where nothing is certain and where everything fails to satisfy. In the name of God, be wholly willing to abandon all illusions. In any relationship in which you are wholly willing to accept completion, and only this, there is God completed and His Son with Him. The bridge that leads to union in yourself must lead to knowledge, for it was built with God beside you and will lead you straight to Him where your completion rests, wholly compatible with His. Every illusion you accept into your mind by judging it to be attainable removes your own sense of completion and thus denies the wholeness of your Father. Every fantasy, be it of love or hate, deprives you of knowledge, for fantasies are the veil behind which truth is hidden. To lift the veil that seems so dark and heavy, it is only needful to value truth beyond all fantasy and to be entirely unwilling to settle for illusion in place of truth. Would you not go through fear to love? For such the journey seems to be. Love calls, but hate would have you stay. Hear not the call of hate, and see no fantasies, for your completion lies in truth and nowhere else. See in the call of hate, and in every fantasy that rises to delay you, but the call for help that rises ceaselessly from you to your Creator. Would He not answer you whose completion is His? He loves you, wholly without illusion, as you must love. For love is wholly without illusion, and therefore wholly without fear. Whom God remembers must be whole, and God has never forgotten what makes him whole. In your completion lie the memory of his wholeness and his gratitude to you for his completion. In his link with you lie both his inability to forget and your ability to remember. In him are joined your willingness to love and all the love of God, who forgot you not. Your Father can no more forget the truth in you than you can fail to remember it. The Holy Spirit is the bridge to him, made from your willingness to unite with him and created by his joy in union with you. The journey that seemed endless is almost complete, for what is endless is very near. You have almost recognized it. Turn with me firmly away from all illusions now, and let nothing stand in the way of truth. We will take the last useless journey away from truth together. And then together we go straight to God, in joyous answer to his call for his completion. If special relationships of any kind would hinder God's completion, can they have any value to you? What would interfere with God must interfere with you. Only in time does interference in God's completion seem to be possible. The bridge that he would carry you across lifts you from time into eternity. Waken from time and answer fearlessly the call of him who gave eternity to you in your creation. On this side of the bridge to timelessness, you understand nothing. But as you step lightly across it, upheld by timelessness, you are directed straight to the heart of God. At its center, and only there, you are safe forever, because you are complete forever. There is no veil the love of God in us together cannot lift. The way to truth is open. Follow it with me. Okay, let's go.
I love that they used the word complete and completion over and over again, because that's something I came to integrate with myself. It was one of the lessons that when you are whole, you feel complete. And feeling complete allows you to be relaxed and accepting it's a safe place to be complete, to need nothing, to know that everything is right there for you in the ultimate choices, if you will, but you don't even have to make them. You can just luxuriate in the knowing of completeness. Whereas when we are in duality, when that's our first premise, where we think we live, then we're always having to choose, like, which place we're at. Are we in this or are we in that? And usually they're opposites. And we're not able to see that we can be anywhere in the spectrum of things at any time that we want to be. We think that we have to choose something and then we need it to be permanent. Therefore, we're always watching and defending against whatever it is, whether it's a medical, idea or, just a stance we've taken against a person or politic, whatever it is. We seem to think that we need to be oppositional and then we're defensive, etc. So we can't feel complete and whole.
Mary, I agree with what you said, but just that I understand you. What does it mean to be whole? How does that look?
It looks communal, at least for me. It looks like I know that God is one thing and we, the entire cosmos, not just we as humans, are examples of or aspects of that oneness, or what I call wholeness instead of oneness, because I've heard a lot of people think that oneness becomes like identical or in agreement with, and we don't have to necessarily have those two aspects. Those are, again, just choices that we make. When we're whole, everything and things we can't even imagine are part of that wholeness. And that, to me, translates as safety. And from there, that gives me the joy and the courage or enthusiasm to explore all those things that I may not have even thought of until they're revealed to me as another aspect. So it makes the world and every minute I'm in it glorious and expansive and like a treasure hunt. So it's fun ultimately, and that's the spectrum, if you will, of light and of life that we have been given.
Thank you.
There was someone who had posted something in our Course in Miracles Facebook group that I've got. I don't know if all of you are members of that, but I posted the lessons every day in my A Course in Miracles Facebook group for teachers and students. And someone had asked something about one of the recent lessons that I posted, like, what does that mean to be one with God? And he wanted my opinion on it. Like, what does it mean we lose the sense of self and individuality? And my answer to that was, in my experience, where I have been in that place of at one mint, right? Either through meditation or some type of dream state where I have experienced that feeling of being at one, where I jumped into that, without any purpose. When I jumped into that third eye, chakra opening meditation, and I was in that place of expansiveness. I think my answer was, when you're in it, it feels amazing, and there's no idea of, oh geez, what happened to my separate self, because it feels so good to be part of the whole and part of the one mind of God, that it's not like you're missing something, right? Because you're complete, you're whole, you're complete. There's no sense of a loss. But when the ego mind starts working again and goes, "Where's the door?" The fear creeps in and boom, you're out of the experience. So my answer to that person was, I can only answer from a place of my own personal experience, that when I was in that place of at one mint, I didn't feel a loss of sense of self. I just felt the most amazing beautiful feeling of love and and grandeur and power, if you will, that nothing's missing. There's no need for anything more. There's no wanting for anything more. You're just in that experience of awe, right? Just like everything is complete. And I feel like that's what it was saying to us when I was reading the last sentence of paragraph 12. We will take the last useless journey away from truth together, and then together we go straight to God in joyous answer to his call for his completion, because his completion is our completion,
Mm.
right? Because we are God in that sense.
And if we remember that God takes away nothing. So every
Right.
time we're thinking of loss or lack in any form, we are still in our dualistic mindset, even though we're trying to apply it spiritually. But
Right.
God takes away nothing. So we do not lose ourselves. We willingly may choose to meld into a community that's totally supportive and, there for each other. Um, Almost like I liken it to joining a chorus, if you will.
Yeah.
You are lending your voice to something more beautiful than you can be as a soloist, but you still have your voice. You still have
Mhm.
your ability to choose which group you're going to be in and how they are going to support you. If you have a little cold or your voice is a little strained, that group is going to lift you up and hold you there in your perfection. And that, for me, has been my experience of the spiritual community, if you will. It's always there. And I'm
Yeah.
there for it as well.
Hmm. Hmm.
Beautiful.
Very nice. Mhm.
Anybody else have anything they'd like to share about what we just read together?
So, from what you all have been saying so far, I'm trying to maybe rephrase it. So, our sense of separate self is an illusion. The reality is we are all one.
Yeah.
So, losing that sense of separate self is an illusion, actually, losing an illusion, right? And
Right?
then just coming to experience the reality. And it is not in just thoughts, but when you really experience that in your being, like when you are taking walk, you just feel that you are one with this entire cosmos.
Mm.
Trees in you, you are in the tree.
Mm.
So I can like I'm just this that losing illusory self is is a good experience. But just in connection with the chapter that we read about love and hate. So, experiencing love in the contrast of hate, that I did not really understand. Uh, it somewhere it said that hate is illusory, but you need to uh, you experience hate, right? Even though it's
Yeah,
illusion.
right. As the ego, right, as experiences the hate and in the within the special relationship, right? The special hate or the special love relationship, there's always a, give to get, give to get. And then if you don't get, right, then the hate comes in, right? Well, that wasn't part of our agreement. You violated our agreement and now I hate you, within the special relationship. So I think that's what they're talking about is be not afraid to look upon the special hate relationship so you can see what's happening and understand the truth of it.
So not to have conditions on love within a special relationship, like
Right.
because ultimately you're both love and just finding that or
Right.
Yeah.
seeing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
You
it's
know, when
not
I think, oh,
not
go
love
ahead.
then. That's not love. No, it's not love if you still have some kind of condition. You
Right.
might not hate, but it's not love either.
Well, I think with a special relationship, uh, which is governed by the ego, that the illusion is that one person can complete another, that this person will complete me. So if I don't have that person, then I am going to eventually die, or you know, get lost in space or something. Yeah, yeah. Um, and so therefore,
Uh,
it becomes a possession, becomes like a utility that I use for myself, even though I say that I love that person, but it isn't selfless. It's to gain from that relationship. And that is, I think, what this chapter here is saying, that to do that uh, binds us to the rules of the ego, and therefore to continual fear about a relationship. And I know I've experienced that in my younger years. I didn't come across A Course in Miracles until I was in my mid 30s. And before that, I would have thought that this special relationship is exactly the right kind.
it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it sets in this reading. Love is recognizing what is not love.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Well, it's very, very difficult to provide a definite definition and understanding of love. It keeps changing every day and in our own lives. However, in my experience, one of my struggles in loving people is my way of loving others is like being there, being nurturing, being positive, doing acts of service, showing affection. And when I don't get little bit of that back, I really get discouraged, and I feel sad for me. So I am not able to love without expectation of being loved. At
Yeah.
least if I have done 10 things, I would like at least one or two things.
Right.
Mhm.
And that
Not
used to
love.
be the way I was in my relationships as well for a very long time. I think up until I hit my really dark night of my soul, where I was just completely, as they said in here, disillusioned, right? Disillusioned by the illusion, and I had read enough of the Course in Miracles to understand that it was an illusion, and I was angry that they would even, or it, or whatever this thing was, would even create a scenario where you could be in an illusion that was so disheartening, right? So I lost faith. I got ill, and then I just fell into this really deep, deep depression that lasted for several months. And it wasn't until I completely let go of expectations of anything out there, because I went through all the stages of grief, right? The sadness, the anger, like all of the levels of grief, and the grief of the ego, right? I was just done with the fairy tale. And finally, when I got to that place where I thought I was going to die, and I was pretty numb to everything that was happening around me.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then I felt that little inner spark, and I didn't know what that was because I had always looked for my happiness out here in my relationships. Like you said, Agnes, I need to get something back in return, right? I'll love you and nurture you and care for you, but I need some loving and nurturing back. That's when I realized it's not out there. None of it. And that's hard to let go of, especially when you grew up
Yeah.
watching
Mhm.
Cinderella, watch like my Prince
Yeah.
Charming is
Mhm.
coming, my happily ever after, my soulmate has got to be out there. I had to let go of all of it.
Mhm.
And only then was I finally able to start understanding what love really was. And
Yeah,
yeah,
Terry, I totally again agree with you because in my own experience, I recognize and I realize and I accept that all my expectations to be loved in return are coming from an ego.
right.
And I
Mhm.
need to die to that, and I'm working on it. Okay.
Yeah,
But on the other side, I also think and feel that when you love, you take 10 steps in a relationship, and when the other one does not return, in a sense, that's a failure of that person, even to see that this person is giving, you know
Mhm.
to recognize that, and this it becomes so mutual to give. I just feel that, okay, this person is not even aware how much I am making an effort to love, you know,
right.
and that is where I feel, should I sow somewhere where I can reap?
Yes.
Mhm.
And that's a hard question to ask, and it requires change, which a lot of people don't like change because it's scary, right? Um, but I've been through a lot of those same questions in many of my relationships, and I think I've mentioned to most of you that I'm married to my fifth husband right now. And for those very same reasons that you just mentioned, give, 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 and don't get anything in return, right? And it's not so much that that I'm not feeling loved, but those relationships just weren't congruent with my frequency, right?
Right.
And I think you have to ask yourself, what do I want out of life? What do I want to experience? And I got to a point where I wasn't interested in having any like love relationships because I realized that it wasn't out there. I wasn't going to get that, and I wasn't looking for that. But when I happened to come upon my current husband, I had been reading Spiritual Partnerships by Gary Zukav,
Mhm.
and it's completely different way of being in a relationship. And it's the entire purpose of the relationship is for the individual soul's growth.
Mhm.
And you can do that with a person. It doesn't have to be your like spouse. It could be a child. It could be a friend. But we just agreed that we would do it within the constraints of a marriage. But our purpose is to challenge each other's frightened personality, challenge each other's ego, and get to the root cause of, that early trauma that creates the story, I'm not enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not lovable, and, outwardly reflects in that fear, right?
Mhm.
I'm sorry if I'm talking too much. Uh, but my reference is with my own siblings. I'm single, and I think I'm going to be 60, and I've given and given and given and given, and I've gone through all sorts of experiences. And now, like, from working on myself, from giving away my expectations of being loved in return, to if I do one more thing, maybe they will love me, and all sorts of things. But now I'm beginning to see, okay, you know what? Maybe I'm trying to love somebody who is incapable of even recognizing there is love. So, am I attracting narcissists in my love who only see themselves and not me?
That could
Or
very
we love,
possible.
oh, go ahead, go ahead.
Go ahead, Mary.
Or we love in the way that we recognize as love. And other people have their own definitions. So if we're loving based on our definition and our expectation, are we really, is it being received necessarily as loving? We're putting a lot of effort into it, but we're putting effort from our perspective and our view of an outcome. And each other person has their own view of the world that they have created. And so they may be sending love according to their definition, but we're not receiving it because it's not in our definition. For instance, my girlfriend's husband truly believes that he is showing her love when he puts gas in her car and checks the oil. She thinks that's a nice gesture, but I really want him to sit and talk with me after dinner or something. He doesn't think that's loving. He's like, I'm being loving because I go inside and I pay the bills. So two miscommunications, if you will, of how love is being expressed and then received or experienced within that couple. They are each showing love, offering love, but, you know, it's according to their definition and therefore isn't in that other person's perception and reception.
Yeah, and you know that this is a little bit of enlightenment, I think. You know, this is where a couple can share their intention of extending love to their partner. So, you know, that's workable.
Isn't there a book on love language, like figuring out what each other's love language is so that you can express it in the way that they like? Mine is acts of service. So it's like anytime if my husband changed my oil, I would be I would receive that as love. But everyone's different, right? Was it gifts, acts of service? There's like five major love languages or something.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's
I'm
part
sure.
of it. And there's also something called the map of consciousness developed by David Hawkins in his book Power versus Force. I don't know if any of you have read this, but
Mhm.
Yep.
it's really interesting. It kind of, I'll try to find a link. You probably can't read that from here, but it shows you on an energetic frequency log where people are in their levels of consciousness. And it goes from what their view of God is like, what their life view is like. They've named the levels, they've logged it on a frequency, what the emotion, like the main emotion that's driving that frequency is, and then the process. And I've found that to be really helpful because sometimes we think that our journey should mirror everyone else's journey. And
Mhm.
everyone else should understand completely where we are on our life journey, but that is just simply not true. And people are on their own journeys to and their own paths toward, enlightenment or not, depending on what they're
Mhm.
choosing. And it can show you like the different levels and how it goes from shame all the way up to fear, right? Shame,
Mhm.
guilt, apathy, grief are all underneath fear. And then above fear is desire, anger, pride, and courage, but that's still all below the line of neutrality, right? And sometimes to try to understand other people's behaviors, it's nice to be able to see a map like this and say, oh, now I understand why they're not getting me at all because they are not even in an area where they can relate to me. right? And sometimes allowing, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we're trying to define what we say very easily. We say unconditional love. And then we immediately put a condition. We use a different word. We sort of use expectation. And I'm not even expecting it in equality. I'm saying if you will show me love one way and I'm doing 10 for you, or whatever it is, but it's still an expectation in the end. So when you learn to love unconditionally because of what you have on the inside, you are just showing love because it fills you with joy to express that love. And if you don't feel that joy, then you're not expressing that love, not out of, oh, I'm going to withhold it because you don't deserve it, but just out of, okay, you're not expressing it. So when then you do express it, there are no expectations because you're already getting back the joy that you really ultimately wanted to feel, and that comes back as love immediately because you have loved yourself to be present to that which does bring you that peace and that joy. So then you're able to express love unconditionally.
I have a question. Is any one of you really successful at this? Just loving unconditionally.
I have tried to do it and I've been successful to a point, and sometimes I still find that fear creeps in, but I've gotten so much better at stopping and recognizing when I'm not feeling joy, something's gone wrong, right?
That's right.
I've done a lot of this work with my relationships. Now my adult children are really my teachers in this. They're teaching me a lot right now about this, and letting go and allowing them to walk their own path, and not feeling like I need to sacrifice to give them things to make their life better. But realizing this is their journey, this is their path, and I can love them without draining myself. I can love them simply from that, like Mary said, from that ever flowing bucket of love within myself that I feel when I go to this horse ranch, when I feel when I go walking on the beach, that I feel when I do my meditations and my Course in Miracles workbook lessons every day. That's how I fill my fountain, right? I have no expectation that anybody out there is going to fill my fountain, not my children, not my spouse, not my friends, nobody, right? That is just my job to do on my own with my connection to the Holy Spirit, the universe, love, God, whatever you want to call it, right? So when I say on my own, I don't mean just on my own. I mean looking for love from a much bigger resource, right? Unconditional love can only come from the one mind of God. And then I can feel it, right? Like it's tangible. I can experience it. I can bathe in it. And as I am bathed in that glow, then I can offer it to my children. I can offer it to my spouse. I can offer it to my friends. But I will never look for it from them.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you
I
recognize,
agree. Yeah.
when you recognize what's not love, it comes to you anyway. That's when it really comes back to you. And you know it, you feel it without expectations.
God wanted to say something.
Oh, thank you. I was going to say that, again, positive projection is a form of love. In other words, if I am able to experience the God within me that is the part of me that is connected with God directly, then it is so much easier for me to project that out onto others and to see the others as loving beings. So now I am seeing with the eyes of love, and I am perceiving the love within them, because that's where I have set my mind and my heart. And if I can do that, and if I'm able to see the loving qualities in you, then I am also seeing them in myself. And I think that that extension and I call it resonance, is the experience for me of love.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's really well said.
Mm, mm, mm,
Thank you.
mm.
I know we only have 14 minutes left, but this next section looks really good, but it's really long. Do you guys want to try to do it, or
We won't
what do
have
you think?
any time to discuss it afterwards, though.
No, we won't unless people want to stay later, but it's up to all of you.
I could stay later.
I can't.
I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
I can't either, but I can listen to the recording.
All right, well, let's try it because it's what we're all talking about right now.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's go for
It's
it.
very
Yes.
relevant.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let me get out of this. I tried to bring up a couple of these maps of consciousness for you guys. All right. Let's see. Choice for completion. Oh, I thought it was the one we just read. Okay. Maybe not then. Well, let's see. The choice for completion. In looking at the special relationship, it is necessary first to realize that it involves a great amount of pain. Anxiety, despair, guilt, and attack all enter into it, broken into by periods in which they seem to be gone. All these must be understood for what they are. Whatever form they take, they are always an attack on the self to make the other guilty. I have spoken of this before, but there are some aspects of what is really being attempted that have not been touched upon. Very simply, the attempt to make guilty is always directed against God. For the ego would have you see him, and him alone, as guilty, leaving the sonship open to attack and unprotected from it. The special love relationship is the ego's chief weapon for keeping you from heaven. It does not appear to be a weapon, but if you consider how you value it and why, you will realize what it must be. The special love relationship is the ego's most boasted gift, and one which has the most appeal to those unwilling to relinquish guilt. The dynamics of the ego are clearest here, for counting on the attraction of this offering, the fantasies that center around it are often quite overt. Here they are usually judged to be acceptable and even natural. No one considers it bizarre to love and hate together. And even those who believe that hate is sin merely feel guilty, but do not correct it. This is the natural condition of the separation, and those who learn that it is not natural at all seem to be the unnatural ones. For this world is the opposite of heaven, being made to be its opposite, and everything here takes a direction exactly opposite of what is true. In heaven, where the meaning of love is known, love is the same as union. Here, where the illusion of love is accepted in love's place, love is perceived as separation and exclusion. It is in the special relationship, born of the hidden wish for special love from God, that the ego's hatred triumphs. For the special relationship is the renunciation of the love of God and the attempt to secure for the self the specialness that he denied. It is essential to the preservation of the ego that you believe this specialness is not hell, but heaven. for the ego would never have you see that separation could only be loss, being the one condition in which heaven could not be. To everyone, heaven is completion. There can be no disagreement on this because both the ego and the Holy Spirit accept it. They are, however, in complete disagreement on what completion is and how it is accomplished. The Holy Spirit knows that completion lies first in union and then in the extension of union. To the ego, completion lies in triumph and in the extension of the victory, even to the final triumph over God. In this, it sees the ultimate freedom of the self, for nothing would remain to interfere with the ego. This is its idea of heaven, and therefore union, which is a condition in which the ego cannot interfere, must be hell. The special relationship is a strange and unnatural ego device for joining hell and heaven and making them indistinguishable. And the attempt to find the imagined best of both worlds has merely led to fantasies of both and to the inability to perceive either as it is. The special relationship is a triumph of this confusion. It is a kind of union from which union is excluded, and the basis for the attempt at union rests on exclusion. What better example could there be of the ego's maxim, seek but do not find? Most curious of all is the concept of the self, which the ego fosters in the special relationship. This self seeks the relationship to make itself complete. Yet, when it finds the special relationship in which it thinks it can accomplish this, it gives itself away and tries to trade itself for the self of another. This is not union, for there is no increase and no extension. Each partner tries to sacrifice the self he does not want for the one he thinks he would prefer, and he feels guilty for the sin of taking and of giving nothing of value in return. How much value can he place upon a self that he would give away to get a better one? The better self the ego seeks is always one that is more special, and whoever seems to possess a special self is loved for what can be taken from him. Where both partners see this special self in each other, the ego sees a union made in heaven, for neither one will recognize that he has asked for hell, and so he will not interfere with the ego's illusion of heaven, which had offered him to interfere with heaven. Yet, if all illusions are of fear, and they can be of nothing else, the illusion of heaven is nothing more than an attractive form of fear, in which the ego is buried deep and rises in the form of love. The appeal of hell lies only in the terrible attraction of guilt, which the ego holds out to those who place their faith in littleness. The conviction of littleness lies in every special relationship, for only the deprived could value specialness. The demand for specialness and the perception of the giving of specialness as an act of love would make love hateful. The real purpose of the special relationship, in strict accordance with the ego's goals, is to destroy reality and substitute illusion. For the ego is itself an illusion, and only illusions can be the witnesses to its reality. If you perceive this special relationship as a triumph over God, would you want it? Let us not think of its fearful nature, nor of the guilt it must entail, nor of the sadness and the loneliness, for these are only attributes of the whole religion of separation and the total context in which it is thought to occur. The central theme in its litany to sacrifice is that God must die so you can live. And it is this theme that is acted out in special relationships. Through the death of yourself, you think you can attack another self and snatch it from the other to replace the self that you despise. And you despise it because you do not think it offers the specialness that you demand. And hating it, you have made it little and unworthy because you are afraid of it. How can you grant unlimited power to what you think you have attacked? So fearful has the truth become to you that unless it is weak and little and unworthy of value, you would not dare to look upon it. You think it safer to endow the little self you made with power you wrested from truth, triumphing over it and leaving it helpless. See how exactly is this ritual enacted in the special relationship. An altar is erected in between two separate people, on which each seeks to kill his self, and on his body raise another self to take its power from his death. Over and over and over, this ritual is enacted, and it is never completed, nor ever will be completed. The ritual of completion cannot complete, for life arises not from death, nor heaven from hell. Whenever any form of special relationship tempts you to seek for love in ritual, remember love is content and not form of any kind. The special relationship is a ritual of form, aimed at raising the form to take the place of God, at the expense of content. There is no meaning in the form, and there never will be. The special relationship must be recognized for what it is, a senseless ritual in which strength is extracted from the death of God and invested in his killer as the sign that form has triumphed over content and love has lost its meaning. Would you want this to be possible, even apart from its evident impossibility? If it were possible, you would have made yourself helpless. God is not angry. He merely could not let this happen. You cannot change his mind. No rituals that you have set up in which the dance of death delights you can bring death to the eternal, nor can your chosen substitute for the wholeness of God have any influence at all upon it. See in the special relationship nothing more than a meaningless attempt to raise other gods before him, and by worshiping them to obscure their tininess and his greatness. In the name of your completion, you do not want this. For every idol that you raise to place before him stands before you in place of what you are. Salvation lies in the simple fact that illusions are not fearful because they are not true. They but seem to be fearful to the extent to which you fail to recognize them for what they are. And you will fail to do this to the extent to which you want them to be true. And to the same extent, you are denying truth, and so are failing to make the simple choice between truth and illusions, God and fantasy. Remember this, and you will have no difficulty in perceiving the decision as just what it is, and nothing more. The core of the separation illusion lies simply in the fantasy of destruction of love's meaning. And unless love's meaning is restored to you, you cannot know yourself, who share its meaning. Separation is only the decision not to know yourself. This whole thought system is a carefully contrived learning experience designed to lead away from truth and into fantasy. Yet for every learning that would hurt you, God offers you correction and complete escape from all its consequences. The decision whether or not to listen to this course and follow it is but the choice between truth and illusion. For here is truth, separated from illusion and not confused with it at all. How simple does this choice become when it is perceived as only what it is? For only fantasies make confusion in choosing possible, and they are totally unreal. This year is thus the time to make the easiest decision that ever confronted you, and also the only one. You will cross the bridge into reality simply because you will recognize that God is on the other side and nothing at all is here. It is impossible not to make the natural decision as this is realized. All right, looks like you're all still here.
Yeah. I would say number 12 is an explanation that rang true to me about religion. and why I stay away from rituals.
Yeah.
And so the word ritual was used there, and it also introduced the term content, which and I'm not quite certain about what they're mentioning here as far as content, but I see it as the purity of something that applies to all circumstances. So it says that love is content and not form.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. Almost like love is truth and not form,
Yes.
right? Content
Yes.
being maybe truth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Hmm.
A
Very well
lot to
said.
chew on.
Mhm.
Yeah. I remember when I first started reading the course, I was married to my second husband, and I idolized him for so many years, and I was also very unhappy in our marriage. And I had two children, and I had no thoughts of really getting a divorce or leaving. But at the same time, the deeper I got into reading A Course in Miracles, the more I realized I was sacrificing so much of who I was for the idolization of the marriage. Now, exactly what they were saying. I killed the self that I was to get the self that I idolized, right? And I could see that playing out in our marriage. And I remember putting the book down, going, I can't read this anymore because there's going to be too many changes happening, and I have two little kids, and I just can't do it right now, you know.
Mhm.
And and then I remember thinking, well, it's not really asking me to change anything on the outside. It's just asking me to accept the truth on the inside. But the funny thing about that is the closer you are to the truth, the more you no longer can be around, you can't sacrifice anymore, right? You
Mhm.
just can't play the game. And I realized that, that wasn't working for my husband because he was so used to me being the cheerleader and sacrificing that our marriage became incongruent, right?
Mhm.
And what I
Mhm.
wanted was completely different from what he wanted. And
Mhm.
it's just interesting how you go through this internal change of understanding the truth of who you are, and the vibrational frequency just kind of takes care of itself. People who don't vibrate with that frequency just kind of you know no longer are attracted to you. you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
So that was my experience with it.
Feel like a lot of women have that happen to them in a marriage, that they maybe people shouldn't say women. I'm just saying that because I can relate to that. But yeah, you're just more committed to like the marriage and the family, and you lose yourself when you're not living in love like we discussed.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right, right. Sacrifice in exchange for the better self.
Yep.
Yeah. Anybody else have anything they want to share about what was just read? All right. Well, as always, it's great to be here with all of you. Thank you so much for staying a few minutes later, and
Mhm.
looking forward to being here next week.
See you.
And
Thank
Have
as
you.
always, I've got the Course in Miracles study group, not study group, Course in Miracles Facebook page where I post the daily lessons. If you're on there, you can always bring up information, chat there in the group. It's a great place to share things about A Course in Miracles, or feel free to send me an email or text if you ever want to chat.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
Thank
you.
Thank
you.
you.
Great.
Thank
Well,
you.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
take care,
Terry.
Terry.
everyone. All
Thank
right.
See you
We'll
you.
see you
next
Yeah.
next
week.
week.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.